The next time someone raises a glass, they may think they are just having a drink. But in reality, they are repeating an action that began before humans were even human. And by the end, there is a strange idea you may not be able to ignore. Maybe alcohol did not appear after civilization. Maybe civilization appeared because of it. That sounds too big. But this story does not begin in a bar, a brewery, or even an ancient city. It begins roughly 10 million years ago, somewhere on a forest floor. A small primate walks through the trees and finds a fallen fruit. The fruit is soft, overripe. It has been lying under the tree for too long. The sugars inside have started breaking down. Yeast has done its quiet work, and the fruit has begun to ferment. The primate does not understand any of this. It does not know the word fermentation. It does not know what ethanol is. It does not know that millions of years later, humans will build bars, wine cellars, breweries, rituals, laws, and entire cultures around this feeling. It simply eats the fruit and feels something. Food, calories, a slight shift in state, maybe warmth, maybe pleasure. And the brain remembers, this is worth coming back to. That is what makes the story strange. Our relationship with alcohol did not begin when someone first decided to make wine. It began much earlier, back when the smell of fermentation meant there was ripe, calorie-rich food nearby. For an ancient animal, this was not a vice. It was a survival signal. If you could find fermenting fruit, you could find energy. And in the wild, energy is everything. So over millions of years, the brains of our ancestors learned to pay attention to that smell, that taste, that feeling. Which means that by the time ancient humans appeared, the attraction was already buried deep inside them. Humans did not invent the desire to drink. They inherited it. But the bigger question is this: when did humans realize they could make it on purpose? And this is where the story gets even stranger. For a long time, we were told a simple version of history. First, humans grew grain. Then they settled down. Then they built villages. Then came cities. And only after all of that did someone accidentally discover alcohol. In that version, alcohol is just a side effect of civilization. But archaeology has started to ruin that clean story. In a cave near Haifa, archaeologists found traces of an ancient drink. The people who used that cave were called the Natufians. They were not farmers in the way we imagine farmers. They did not have proper fields. They gathered wild grain by hand. They hunted animals. They still lived close to the old hunter-gatherer world. But inside stone mortars carved into the rock, researchers found residue from wheat and barley. The grain had been soaked, allowed to sprout, left to ferment. In other words, it was beer. Beer made around 13,000 years ago, in a cave, before humans had fully become agricultural. Think about that. They had not yet built civilization as we usually define it. But they had already found the time, the reason, and the method to brew. That means this was not a random detail. It mattered. It mattered enough that people learned to do it before they learned to live the way we now call civilized. And then there is another strange clue. In modern-day Turkey, there is a place that looks like it should belong to a much later world. Huge stone pillars, some weighing more than 10 tons, circles of carved rock, animal figures cut into stone, a level of organization that does not seem to fit the time. This place is Göbekli Tepe, and it was built by hunter-gatherers, people without permanent houses in the way we think of them, without pottery, without developed farming, without cities or kings. And yet they gathered, moved enormous stones up a hill, and created a site that still makes archaeologists argue. Why? What could motivate people without cities or rulers to organize labor on that scale? One answer sounds almost too human. Feasts, rituals, large gatherings, and a drink that helped bring people together. Because at the site, archaeologists found large stone vats, and inside them were traces of fermented grain. So people may not have come there only to look at stones. They gathered, they ate, they drank, they performed rituals. They became part of something larger than their small daily group. And this raises a question that changes the whole story. What if humans did not start growing grain only to make bread? What if one reason agriculture became so important was that people wanted reliable access to alcohol? Bread takes many steps. You have to grind the grain, mix it, knead it, bake it, control the fire. Beer can be simpler. Soak grain, let it sprout, leave it alone, and nature begins doing part of the work for you. Fermentation does not ask for permission. It simply happens. And if ancient people liked the result, they had a reason to return to grain again and again. First for the drink, then for storage, then for fields, then for settlements. And step by step, a new way of life could grow around it. Maybe humans did not discover alcohol after becoming civilized. Maybe alcohol helped humans become civilized. After that, the story accelerates. In China, archaeologists found ancient jars containing residue from a drink made with rice, honey, grapes, and hawthorn berries. This was not just some accidental fermented mixture. It was a recipe, a blend. Someone understood flavor. Someone experimented. Someone wanted not only intoxication, but a particular kind of drink. Then came Egypt, and in Egypt, beer stopped being just a drink. It became part of the economy. Workers who built the pyramids were given beer as payment, not as a bonus, not as entertainment after work, but as part of their daily ration. Because beer provided calories. It was nourishing, and in many cases it could be safer than contaminated water. For someone working under the desert sun, beer was not just a way to relax. It was food, fluid, energy, payment, and even medicine. Egyptians mixed beer with herbs and used it in medical treatments. In religion, it became a gift from the gods. So one drink carried many roles at once. It gathered people, fed workers, paid labor, entered rituals, helped preserve calories, created a reason to celebrate, and possibly pushed humans to stay close to grain. Now go back to the beginning, to that small primate on the forest floor. It simply found a fermented fruit. It had no idea that one day this would become breweries, vineyards, festivals, prohibitions, rituals, laws, medicine, taxes, bars, and entire cultures. But the impulse was the same. Find something sweet, feel a change, come back for it, share it with others. That is why the history of alcohol is not just the history of a drink. It is the history of the human desire to alter our state, to feel closer to other people, to release tension, to create rituals, to mark important moments, and sometimes to escape ourselves. And here is the unexpected ending. It seems like humans drink because we created civilization, cities, stress, work, and celebrations. But maybe it was the other way around. Maybe part of civilization appeared because humans found a way to turn ordinary fruit, ordinary grain, and ordinary water into something people were willing to gather around. So a glass is not just a glass. It is a small echo of a forest, a cave, an ancient fire, and the first celebration. An echo of a desire older than language, older than cities, and possibly older than humanity itself.